Bears and Packers. The Bears finally win in Green Bay. Shout out to Chicago. I don't know if their fans actually wanted that at this point. I think they might have wanted the loss and a better draft pick. But I think there's a lot of Chicago Bears fans out there who say,
something.
Damn the draft pick. We needed a win in Green Bay because it had been a long, long time since they had beat the Packers, specifically in Lambeau. So they get the win 24-22. Top 5 graded Chicago Bears in this one. Guard Matt Pryor with an 83.6. Cornerback Kyler Gordon with an 83.2. Cornerback Jalen Johnson with an 81.9. Wide receiver DJ Moore, 79.4. And the offensive tackle Darnell Wright with a 78.0. Quarterback Caleb Williams in this one, 56.4. On Green Bay side of things, guard Elgton Jenkins was their top graded player at an 80.8. Offensive tackle Rasheed Walker with a 79.8. Guard Sean Ryan with a 79.9. Linebacker Edgerrin Cooper, with a 76.2. Cornerback Carrington Valentine with a 74.7. And then Malik Willis in this one, who came in for an injured Jordan Love, here in just a 42.5 overall grade here. Stat that told the story for me, Bears offensive line. Very critical of them throughout the season. Very hot and cold, very up and down. Still think it's an area that they should address when we get to the draft. But 21.6 pressure percentage this week, 5th best that they had all season. So shout out to Chicago in that regard. I think the offensive line really stepped up. On the other side of the coin, Packers pass rush. I'm worried about this team. They're now going into Philadelphia. They're going into the playoffs, and this team really still cannot get after the passer. And Devontae Wyatt, I think, has played well this year, so shout out to Devontae Wyatt. He's my most impressive. I think Devontae Wyatt has specifically played well because, to me, he was one of the players that was on the team already that was drafted to play a position that didn't really exist in the 3-4 defensive scheme they had the previous year. Now, in a 4-3 Jeff Hafley scheme, he is able to play as a 3-technique defensive tackle, and that's what he succeeded at when he was at Ohio State. So, to me, that is why Devontae Wyatt is shining amongst a defensive line that is generally playing worse than expectations. But the pass rush overall, 54.4 pass rush grade as a team for the Packers in this one. And it has been an area of concern that we have talked about multiple times throughout the show. And going into the playoffs, you are going in Philadelphia against the best offensive line in the NFL. That's not good. That, to me, is the killer matchup here, is how bad the Packers have been at pass rushing and how good the Eagles' offensive line is. And I was hoping, for the Packers' sake, that they would look better against a hot and cold Bears offensive line, and it was the opposite of how I wanted them to look. So those are sort of my storylines here for this game.
So as far as just this game itself, I think the Packers made a boatload of mistakes that really killed them, right? I think you had the Josh Blackwell punt return touchdown early. That put him in a hole.
Of course.
Jaden Reed fumbled on a jet sweep. Kevin Byard darn near killed Malik Willis.
Holy cow.
I mean, and that fumble, that was in Bears territory. Later in the game, they're calling a jet sweep again with Jaden Reed on 4th and 3. That didn't work. They had a chance when the Packers kicked the field goal that gave them a lead late. They had a chance to get a first down and really milk the clock out, and they just didn't do it. They never put the Bears away in this game, and they kept making mistakes. And the Bears, credit to them, credit to Caleb Williams and the crew over there. They finally found a way, like you mentioned, to get a win over the Packers. But I'm with you. I'm worried about this Packers team. I think you have multiple issues. One, they can't rush the passer. It's not good. Two, even when Jordan Love was in this game before he went down with, elbow injury, I think it was, an elbow contusion, it's just not clicked. It's not clicked this year. 16 big-time throws, 13 turnover-worthy plays. And I watched them lately, and I'm looking at their passing game, and everything's taking too long. It's almost too vertical. There's no rhythm to it. And the run game's been spectacular. They run for 180 yards in this game, too? They've been running the ball well all year. Josh Jacobs, honestly, their offensive MVP. But it's just something not right about this Packers passing game. There's no rhythm. Takes too long, and you can feel Jordan Love in the pocket constantly looking for the higher option, the deeper option first. And I just think everything, it just looks disjointed right now. I'm with you. I think they have an extremely tall task going into Philly next week because they've got issues with the pass rush. Mm-hmm. They have issues throwing the ball themselves, despite Jordan Love. Christian Watson, they're saying he might have torn his ACL.
Yeah,
so now you lose the one-size speed guy you have. I don't think this receiving core, I know it's been a topic of discussion both ways about, the Packers, do they or don't they need a number one receiver? I think they do. I think this is something they need to look into in this offseason because these guys, they're decent. I like Jaden Reed. I like Romeo Doubs, right? Wicks has struggled. Watson's always hurt. They need to look into getting a real deal number one receiver somehow. I don't know if it's in the draft or in free agency. And then middle of the field coverage, not as big a concern for me against Philly because they throw it outside so much. But if they were somehow win that game and go to Detroit, how in the hell are you covering over the middle of the field? I think this Packers team has a lot of issues. And I think the first one is that the Jordan Love hot streak from the second half of last year has not carried over. I think it's a big problem, and especially against the way Fangio plays zone defense and doesn't let you get over the top. I don't know. I aside from a Jalen Hurts meltdown, I'm running out of ways for the Packers to beat Philly in Philly next week.
What else in this game do you got before we move on?
Most impressive, I'll go on the Bears side, one slight bit of optimism. Darnell Wright at right tackle. We're going to talk a lot about the Bears offensive line this offseason. If Tevin Jenkins is staying or going, who's playing center, what do we do with Braxton Jones? But Darnell Wright's the one rock-solid guy there.
I think so too, man.
One pass rush loss in 37 reps in this game, 7 positive run blocks. He ends the regular season as the 5th highest graded right tackle in the league.
I like Darnell Wright a lot when he was coming out, so this music to my ears. I love hearing this.
He was. I know it'll always be the debate about whether they should have taken Jalen Carter, which I get. Jalen Carter's great, but Wright felt like a high floor pick who would get the job done eventually. He's gotten the job done this year. He's the one guy of those 5 up front that I think is truly just safe.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.